super bummed to be stuck inside, but this is a great opportunity for you to work on some physical self-care, and shoulder mobility is something that we should all be working on all the time. So I thought I'd share some of my exercises for shoulder mobility with you all. You will need a stick of some sort for this. So I've got this dowel thing that I use for my Pilates, but if you have a broom or a Swiffer, the Swiffer sticks, you can take the end off, those are perfect. Anything rigid that you can hold on to. You could even use a yoga strap, slightly less ideal for this, but just something that you can grip that's going to keep your hands shoulder distance apart, and everything else will be equipment free. So we're going to start laying down on our backs and figuring out how to move our shoulders through external rotation without lifting the ribs. So you're going to lay down on your back. Make sure you have room behind you to take your arms all the way overhead. Knees can be bent in a relaxed position. And I want you to untuck your pelvis. So circus people, we lay down, we usually do this right away. Relax. In Pilates, we talk about neutral spine. And neutral spine is when we are relaxed in the natural curvature of our spine. So we want to think about hip bones and pubic bone being level. So your pelvic bowl is flat and level with the floor. When you're tucked, when you're trying to go into that hollow shape, your pubic bone is going to be higher than your hip bones. Yeah? So in neutral, there might be a little bit of space or lightness beneath your low back to the floor, and that's fine. That's what we want. Then I want you to take your hands to your ribs, and I want you to take a couple deep breaths, feeling your ribs expand in your hands. And then you're going to do that again, but this time as you exhale, I want you to actually squish the air out of your ribs with your hands. So you're exhaling and you're pressing down. Inhaling, feeling your ribs expand. Exhale, push down. And you can think about trying to pull your ribs down towards your hip bones as you do that. Now notice, you might have just tucked in response to that. And if you did, I want you to see if your ribs can stay down and your pelvis can relax. You might also have noticed that when you pull your ribs down, your shoulders and head kind of want to do this. And if you can't keep your ribs down without doing this, put a little pillow behind your head. That's totally fine. It just means that your thoracic spine, your upper back, is a little bit stuck round. And that's okay, you can work through that, but right now it's not going to be beneficial for you to try to force yourself into this weird position to do these exercises. Prop your head up, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable. So once we found that feeling of ribs being in, ribs connected or knitted, you've probably heard your coaches say a whole bunch of that stuff and maybe not always understood what they're talking about. This is what we're talking about. And I think about them pulling in, like I have a rubber band from here to here, but also like I have a rubber band from here to here. Yeah? So once we found that, we're going to find our stick. And I want you to hold your hands over your shoulders, holding your stick. Your wrist should be flat and neutral, so we're not flexing or extending at the wrists. Yeah? You're going to think about trying to pull your elbows in and rotate from your upper arm. So those of you who have super hyperextendy elbows, you're going to do this and you might be able to just hyperextend your elbow here and not move from here at all. So I want you to think about the outside of your armpit to the other outside of your armpit, reaching towards each other. So this is external rotation of the shoulder. Once we found that rotation, so the points of your elbow should be pointing at your legs, the elbow pit should be pointing over your shoulder, your ribs are in. You're going to take a deep breath. And as you exhale, I want you to first try to push the bar up towards the ceiling just a little bit. And then you're going to take your arms towards your ears. Now, as you do this, you're trying to maintain that rotation through the upper arm and your ribs down. Inhale, lift your arms back up. So I promise you that if you got your arms all the way to the floor, you probably released something. So there's two things that we might see here. The first one is the ribs lifting up as your arms come back. And I'm doing this in a really obvious way because I want you to see what I'm talking about. Yeah? So pay attention to your ribs. You should feel like you're trying to reach your ribs and your hands in opposite directions. So there's something pulling my ribs this way, and there's something pulling my arms that way. The other thing that can happen here, and this one's a little more subtle, is that we fall out of external rotation. So here, as my arms are coming back, maybe you felt something like that happen. Did you see how my upper arm and my elbows turned out? And then it's really easy for me to get my hands to the ground. Also, my ribs lifted up a little bit, so those things usually happen together. So it's not just the elbows reaching towards each other, it's the armpits reaching towards each other. And we're trying to push the bar away from us. So this is usually about as far as I can go. I haven't quite hit the mat before my shoulders really want to turn out. Inhale to lift them back up. And think about that sense of reaching out. So I'm pushing towards the ceiling. I'm reaching towards the wall. We want our scapula to be going through their upward rotation here. So I'm not trying to keep them glued on my back. Oh God, that feels terrible. I'm letting my shoulders come up. All right. So, as we go through everything else, I want you remembering that sense of tightness through the rib cage and how that connects into the rotation of your shoulder. Yeah? All right, so let's warm up our spines just a little bit. Thoracic mobility, upper back mobility, and shoulder mobility are very interconnected. So if we want to increase the range in one, we probably need to increase the range in the other. So we're going to start on hands and knees, gripping the ground, pressing the ground away, shoulders drawing down away from the ears. We're going to go through articulation, starting in the tail, tucking the pelvis, flexing the low back, mid back, upper back, head drops, and lift the tail, extending low back, mid back, upper back, head lifts. Keep pressing into the ground, curling, and extending. We're going to do one more. I'm thinking about pushing my hands forward as I go into my curl and pulling my hands back as I lift my tail. And then I'm going to come sit all the way onto my heels. I'm going to put my hands right on the mat in front of me, and I'm going to do a little isolation of my thoracic spine. So here, I want to try to keep a little sense of tuck through my low back. So my low back, we're trying to block it from moving here, so I want it to stay a little bit round. I'm going to push my hands into the ground again, And I'm going to start right at my solar plexus, thinking about reaching forward, trying to pull my chest through my arms, shoulders are down, collar blades broad, collarbones broad, and head comes up. My hands are pulling back. My hands push forward and I'm pulling back from my solar plexus, sternum, upper back, neck, head comes forward. Hands pull back, reach from that middle of your chest. And up, and push. Back. One more time in each direction. Reaching from the solar plexus, sternum, open heart, head up. And like somebody's poking you right in your solar plexus and round. Now, I want to do a little rotation. So I'm going to keep one hand right where it is. I'm going to take the other hand to the back of my head. This hand that's staying on the ground is going to stay pushing the whole time, and my shoulders staying down. So I want to keep this space at my neck. I'm going to show you from this side first so you can see what's happening here. So hand on the back of the head. I'm taking a deep breath, and I'm going to pull my elbow towards my straight arm elbow. And then I'm going to lift my elbow. I'm pushing through the mat, and I'm looking under my armpit. Inhale, exhale. My weight should stay even on my heels. So here, I'm feeling that I'm not shifting from side to side. And this arm is reaching towards the ceiling. We'll switch sides. You might not feel like you go very far, and that's okay. It is better to understand where you're limited here so you can work on getting better than allow yourself to cheat the movement and then not get the benefit of the exercise. So inhaling, exhaling, pushing through this hand, reaching through my top elbow. I'm thinking about getting as wide from here to my elbow as possible. Inhaling, exhaling. One more time. And come all the way out. And then we're going to sit all the way up. We're going to do a little bit of scapular rotation. So I'm going to start with my hands out at shoulder height in this angle we called scaption. So kind of right between straight ahead and straight out to the side. I'm going to imagine that my hands are resting on something. So when we do this movement, my hands aren't going up and down, but they can go forward and backwards. I'm going to pay attention to my spine. So here I'm trying to isolate movement to my shoulder blades without allowing my ribs and back to move. So elbows stay straight, and I'm going to start by drawing my shoulder blades up, back, down, and forward. Up, back, down, and forward. Make it a little smoother. Pay attention to your hands. We're trying to keep them from going up and down. And then we'll reverse. Back, up, forward, down, back, up, forward, down, and smooth it out. We'll do one more. And rest. And give yourself a little wiggle. So now we're going to restrict movement a little bit more. So we're going to do this one at a time. I'm going to take one hand and put it across my low back. And now I've really lost the ability to cheat by moving my arm, and I can only move my scapula. And I'm going to go up, back, down, forward, making those same circles. And here, because we're doing it one at a time, you're really going to feel the difference from side to side. Maybe one of your scapula can do a lot of movement, and one can't do very much at all. Let's reverse it. And these things are all normal, but it's good to know so you can work on finding a little more balance. And we'll switch sides. Now, if any of this stuff hurts, if you're getting pinch, pain, zing, anything other than like maybe a little bit of discomfort because it's not a way that you're used to working or you're getting fatigued, limit your range of motion. Working through pain isn't helping you, it's just going to make it worse. We'll reverse directions. All right. So now we're going to do a straight arm circle. I'm going to stay kneeling. I don't mind kneeling. If you want to sit cross-legged, that's fine. If you want to stand up, that's fine. I'm going to take one hand across, so I'm holding my ribs. My other hand is going to start palm up. I'm going to cut across my body, bringing my arm all the way up to my ear, trying to keep my palm turning back. Now here is where I really want you thinking about your ribs. Did you need to lift them up to get your arm up? Did your arm need to stop here? Is that as far as it can go before you start doing a compensation? That's fine. Just work in your range. Once our arm gets up as far as we can get it, we're going to turn the hand and keep turning it, bringing our arm all the way behind us till our palm is facing the ceiling again and the hand comes to rest at your hip. And we're going to reverse, lifting the palm towards the ceiling, unwinding the arm, taking it to the ear, palm faces the ceiling as we bring it down. Now, here, pay attention. Are you wobbling to get out of the way to feel like you're making a bigger circle? You're not actually making a bigger circle when you do that. So, we're trying to stay really still through everything except our shoulder. Let's do one more on this side. And then switch sides. And I'm going to sit because my feet are starting to fall asleep. So other side. Arm up. Twist, turning the palm towards the ceiling. Hand comes down and reverse. Another great time to pay attention to your sides. Does one do this easier than the other? Pretty normal. Last one. All right, so we're going to go back onto our knees with our hands in front of us. So that same position we were just in. And we're going to do another round of our shoulder rotations. Now, having this hand on the mat is going to really block me from cheating. So same idea as we did with the rotation. This shoulder is staying down. I'm pushing into the mat. This hand comes forward, and I'm going to cross, arm to ear, rotate, trying to keep my arm up as high as I can. Hand comes to the hip, and reverse. Oh, it's so much harder. Let's do two more. Don't let your pressing arm relax. Don't let yourself rotate. And switch sides. Push down, roll this shoulder, and lift. We're doing 3. Pay attention to your ribs. What do they want to do? Last one. Ha! Shake it out. All right, so one more little set of exercises. For this, we're going to lay down on our belly. And make sure you can take your arms all the way overhead without them touching anything. So first, we're gonna do basically that same motion. I can make a pillow with one hand. I'm gonna turn my palm up, and then I'm gonna lift my arm off the mat and try to turn it all the way around behind me, keeping my arm up as high as I can. And then I'm gonna bend my elbow, trying to bend it without my hand touching first, and then lower down. And then reverse, pulling up. So here I'm thinking about retracting my scapula, hovering my hand, extending my arm straight, and rotating back to my ear to come down. Let's do that one more time on this side. As my arm is coming up behind me, don't let your shoulder roll way down. Try to keep your shoulder blade retracted. Bend the elbow, hand hovers, let it down. Retract, hover, extend, and rotate around. And we'll do the other side. So palm up, lift the hand, rotate around, hand staying high, shoulders drawing up away, shoulder blade is towards the spine, bend the elbow, hand rests, retract your shoulder blade, hover the hand, extend the elbow, all the way around. One more time. Up, around, shoulder blade retracted, elbow bent, and retract shoulder blade, hover hand, extend elbow, and back. All right, so now we're gonna take our hands either to the top of your back or the back of your head, wherever you're at. So top of your back is harder, back of your head a little easier. And then we're gonna lift the elbows and extend the arms and come back. It should be a little hard. And if you're not able to do it laying down, you can also try this whole series in a child's pose. That might be a little easier if you're limited in your mobility. Then, we're gonna take both hands to our low back. We're gonna do that same idea of isolating that motion. So retract, hover hands, extend arms, back to hover, hands set down, relax the shoulders. Retract, hover, extend, back to hover, hands down, shoulders down. One more time. And that's it. Basic little shoulder mobility work that you can add into your regular routine or carve out some special time to focus on. Things to pay attention to. Is there a part of any of those movements that are really hard, where you're restricted? That's where you want to put in the work, right? Let me know if you have any questions, make a comment, send me a message. I'm here for you. I literally don't have anything else going on, so I'm happy to answer questions that you have. Thanks for watching.